Thank you. We are now being recorded, ladies, for posterity. I'll post this on our 122 Ministries YouTube channel later on. And I have, do either of you need the links to the first 2 weeks?
No.
Okay. I made a little slide of them and got the links if you need them. But anyway, if you don't need to, how are we doing on our income and expense tracking? Any issues there? Have you learned anything by doing that? Mary was sharing with me a little bit about how she has done that again. She did once upon a time, and now she's done it again. Tell us what you said, Mary, just about how it's given you that kind of relief of
I
concern. Yeah,
I had something else to say now.
go ahead.
I don't like tracking my expenses because sometimes I'm not real wise in my spending. And when I have to write it down, I'm kind of judgy of myself. I go, what were you thinking there?
Yeah.
Or you didn't need that, or you spent too much there. So it's really a good accountability for me,
You bet.
because until I write it down, I pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I then next time, like when I'm at the checkout at the grocery store and I'm putting stuff in the cart because it's there or whatever, I don't do it. I think, no, you don't really want that, so I become more responsible to myself. But when I don't write it down, I can pretend.
Right. It's so critical. It's like I said about goals. We can set goals and we can think we've set them, but they don't exist until you write them down. There's just a difference. And obviously that's not literally true, but when you write it down, there's a different accountability, different level of accountability
Yes.
there. So absolutely. Thanks, Mary. It is very
Katie, do you
helpful.
have that?
Huh?
Does that happen for you?
Oh yeah, all the time. I buy something, I'm just like, I really did not need this. For this, for the money. So yeah, writing it down does help. Like Thursday, I just bought a whole bunch of stuff to clean my car and everything else, and I bought the kids some water guns and stuff like that. I'm just like, we really don't need it, but y'all need something to do. So.
Well, Katie, that's that goes back to needs and wants that we talked about, and that's blurry sometimes. Okay,
Yeah.
you can say, okay, I don't really need this, but just like you said, but the kids need things too. You don't just starve. Okay, that's not the point. But if you want to be careful, like there's a fine line. You don't want to be foolish about it, but at the same time, nor do you want to justify something
Yeah.
you're really just wanting by saying, oh well, it's okay. But there is a place where it says, this is a wise purchase, even though we could do without it. So you've got to discern that, and you've got to ask that question basically each time. So like Mary said, when you write this down, now it's on your mind at least. Whereas before you would do it mindlessly. Oh yeah, whatever. I've got it in my pocket, so we'll just get it. Or I've got a credit card, which we're going to talk about eventually. And so I can pay for it later. Don't have to worry about it today. So, but tracking it helps us to pay attention to it and then make better decisions. Thank you, ladies. Also asked you last week to had a little homework to make yourself long-term and short-term savings goals. And did you get to do that? Did you at least think about it? Maybe jot those down, long term, short term. Remember, we talked quite a bit about that, how they kind of fit together, and how today we're gonna get into how we're gonna be able to do that. They were supposed to be SMART Goals, look on page 56 in your workbook there. SMART savings goal. S for specific. Know what you're aiming for and why you're making sacrifices, and it does require that. M, made to honor God. They need to connect to your top priorities, which we did in week 1. What are your top priorities? And to God's work in the world. Do they connect? Are they made to honor God? Or they need to be accountable, someone to check on you or send you reminders. You need to have a partner that will say, how you doing? Realistic, increase the likelihood of achieving them. We gave those examples of, hey, I want to buy a Ferrari in 2 years. Well, is that realistic? I mean, I don't want a Ferrari. I might want a new pickup again. I keep getting from my dealer. I have a truck that's only 2 years old, and they're already sending me, hey, we got a brand new one. You can bring yours in and we'll put you in this brand new one. Man, they've been hitting me with emails, and I even got a snail mail from them yesterday. So it's tempting. I sure don't need it, but it's still tempting. Realistic, time bound. You want to have a time frame with your goal so that you can track your progress, see how you're accomplishing in that, or modify one way or another, either modify your goal or modify how you're trying to get there to stay on the time. So alter those if you need to. If you've got another week of tracking your income and expenses, if some of these, if it's not realistic, you're thinking, I did a pretty good job and I'm really not moving that way, alter it a little bit. You don't want to set yourself up to fail. So make some changes if you need to, but the idea is to keep working toward these long and short term savings goals. We've been talking about how money is connected to our relationships. We're going to continue to look at how we can reflect the image of God by being good managers of what He's given to us. That's what stewardship is. That's the church word for being a good manager of our resources. So let's consider the story of a wise woman. Again, we're on page 56. Somebody read that little Proverbs 31 passage for us.
The wise woman gets up early to prepare food for her family. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her profit, she plants a garden. With her hands, she makes clothes. When it snows, she is not afraid for her family. All of them are well dressed. She is dressed in fine linen and purple clothes. She is generous to the needy in her community.
All right. Purple clothes, my favorite color. How does this woman reflect the image of God? Both in her finances and her relationships. Let me ask it a different way. What wise things does this woman do to care for her money and relationships?
Well, I thought she prepared ahead of time. She doesn't wait till it's snowing to take care of things. She takes care of her health, so she's strong and able to work. She does work. She plants the garden, um, and works with her hands. I think she considers the field. That's kind of what we were talking about before, and buys it, meaning she just doesn't spontaneously spend. She has a plan or thinks about it.
Right.
And that she also, and I think this first time I noticed it, that she dresses in fine linen. So she buys quality things that last.
Mhm. So here's several things. Description of a woman who desires to be a good imager of God and then depends on him to make her into that person to do the things she does to be a wise steward of her money and her relationships. Never forget those are so closely tied. Something I had before I really studied faith and finances, I had not really put that together in my mind, but it's so critical. And I think I mentioned to you, Jesus talked about money almost more than any other subject in his uh, words, in his sermons, in his parables. Uh, it's really a big deal. And if you haven't figured that out yet, you will. But they affect everything. Money affects everything. Both our financial gifts and our relational gifts belong to God, where we are to use them to reflect his image and glory. Um, remember our themes for faith and finances. Jesus is making all things new. He's at work doing that. He invites us to join him, and uh, he wants us to participate in his work of restoring our money and relationships. So let's look a little more at Eva and Isaac. Um, I miss being together because we like to role play these things, and it's always fun to do that. But we'll read it and do our best. So, as we listen to this, note how Eva and Isaac reflect God's design with their money, and then also think about how they could improve. Eva and Isaac's spending plan. After setting savings goals and beginning to act on them, Isaac is slowly seeing Jesus repair all things in their lives, including their decisions about money and their relationships with one another. As a husband, son, and father, he wants their family to reflect God's design. However, every day life is still hard. His pockets are still empty. Isaac often feels discouraged because it feels like they never have enough money. The elder from the church who sold them the washer and dryer had some good advice. They recently went out to shoot some hoops together. As they played, he mentioned to Isaac, when you think you don't have any money, that is exactly when you need to track where every cent of it goes and write out a plan for how you will use what little you have. When you think you don't have any money, that's exactly when you need to track where every cent of it goes and write out a plan. The elder was easy to beat at basketball, but his advice about money was wisdom that couldn't be beat. When Isaac got home, he shared this idea with Eva. They decided together to create a realistic spending plan. In a special notebook, they added up all their income for the month. Afterwards, they added up all their expenses for the month. Then they subtracted their expenses from their income to figure out how much they had left over to save. Isaac and Eva agreed to set aside 10 minutes every evening to review and keep on track with their spending plan. Isaac and Eva's mother still struggle to live under the same roof, but since she is part of the household too, they include her in the planning. Eva continues to encourage the family to work together on the plan, including their son Michael, even though there are fights about money, broken promises, and accusations of others not doing enough. Anybody ever experienced that in a family, especially around money? Yeah. The couple feels guilty because Michael is begging for a computer. Isaac and Eva are trying to build their savings, but Michael needs a computer just like the other kids have. He argues it could be great for school. They struggle with it for several days and finally decide to visit Jessica down at Rent and Go. She was super nice as always, even throwing in a free month of internet. Isaac and Eva rent to own a nice, lightly used computer for $100 down and $50 a month for 18 months. Because the family is working together much more, Isaac stays home in the evening and helps Michael with his homework. Sticking to their spending plan and saving is difficult. The whole family must learn to make sacrifices. But as they take ownership of what God has given them little by little, the family has less anxiety. It's still a daily struggle, but they're feeling hopeful. Okay, let's talk about Isaac and Eva here just a minute. How are they good managers of what God has given them? What are they doing right?
They're writing down their total income every month and comparing it to what they need to spend it on every month to see
Okay.
where their extra is to put into savings.
So they're tracking, they're writing it down, as we talked about earlier, keeping up with it, seeing where every cent goes. And really that's critical, every bit of it. Very good. What else? What else are they doing well?
Well, I thought at the beginning it was good that Isaac sees who's really doing the work. I know it seems like we're doing the work, but he says that he sees Jesus repairing.
You'll notice, and it's not true. I won't say that, Jesus waits for us to take the first step. That's not strictly true. But he does expect us to respond to his grace, which he's already offered, his help, in other words. And grace, by the way, is more than just getting saved. Okay. Don't sell that word short. Grace also implies a continuing giving, Jesus giving himself to us in our resources, uh, in all kinds of resources. Okay. So it's a continuous process that's going on. Katie stepped away, but
Sorry, I had to go get my glasses. My
that's
head
okay. Oh yeah,
hurt.
that's okay. What else
I
are they
have a
doing?
stuffed
What else are they doing good? Doing well. How about
Well, they include
doing
their
it?
mother.
Go ahead.
They
Katie.
include their mother in the
There you go.
finance plan
There you go.
and try to with trying to get Michael a computer. Rent to own is not always the best, but sometimes it does help to just pay it off every month instead of paying it out flat.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that a little more in just a minute, but doing things together, right? They're including everybody. It's not just mom or dad or somebody saying this is the way it's going to be. They're sharing with each other, and that's so big deal. So big a deal. Very good. So let's look at how much they're going to pay for Michael's computer over time. $100 down, $50 a month for 18 months. How much is that? Somebody that's a math person do it. I've got a calculator here.
$1,000.
Okay, is that, I'll trust you.
I got
I don't,
190. I got 190.
50,
plus
$50 a
13.
month. Let me,
Okay, now I need my calculator.
My bad. Yeah,
so it's
I forgot
50
about the zero.
times 18 is 900 plus 100 is $1,000. Okay,
3,000.
so they're going to pay $1,000 for that used computer.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at nowadays. All right, I investigated this. These are about figures are probably 6 months old. I looked at Rent-A-Center for a computer. They had a computer, pretty good computer, for $29.99 a week. That's $30 a week for 91 weeks. That equals $2,729.09. Almost $3,000. Okay. So then I looked at Best Buy. A used computer at Best Buy, refurbished, working computer, $150. A new one, you can get a new computer, desktop computer, very good one, for about $600 compared to almost $3,000 at Rent-A-Center.
You know,
Oh my.
kick that interest and everything else. And definitely
Oh
take
my.
advantage of trying to get that money out of you.
Yeah.
Right, but the
So
new one comes with like a warranty or a guarantee,
sure,
and it
sure.
works because it hasn't been used and it's probably got newer technology programs on it,
And
maybe more valuable.
we typically buy from Best Buy our computers, and we also pay for Geek Squad, which is it's $50 a
Yeah.
year, I think, maybe less, but and then your repairs are free. Okay. Take your computer to get it repaired. See if you can get that done for $50. Okay, they won't even open the thing for $50. Okay. So for just a little bit more, let's say $650 for a year for a new computer. Now you've got not only the manufacturer's warranty, but whatever you need. And we have used that $50 multiple times. A lot of times it's just a phone call, and they'll say, do this, or they can remotely fix it. Okay. And you're done. We've a couple times we've had to take them in. But anyway, even without the warranty or repair, you're still looking at a huge difference, y'all. This is huge. All right. So be careful of paying it out. And we're gonna talk about interest and borrowing, lending later on. But I know it sounds like, well, I can afford that a week. But if you look at what you're going to end up spending versus finding a better way, then you need to be careful about that. Okay, so let's do that right now. I want you all, both of you, to let's develop a monthly spending plan. You got your income and expenses, your tracking sheets there. Even if you feel like you don't have any money or almost no money, you still need to do this. This is the beginning. This is where you learn. As your income grows, then you will apply these same principles. So wherever you are, this is where you want to start. A monthly spending plan is a basic budget for how we use our money each month. It may seem limiting but actually it gives you freedom, right, Mary? That's what you think, oh no, I've got to make a budget, but there's actually great relief in that. And you'll see what I mean. It's hard to explain it, but you'll see what I mean as you begin to implement it. When we put everything in a plan, we know our limits and can use our money then without guilt. To create a monthly spending plan, add up all your income, and you should have a month's worth now, 4 weeks worth of that. Add up all your income, add up all your expenses, and then subtract your expenses from your income to see what you have left over to save. On page 60, you'll see Eva and Isaac's spending plan. Let's look at that just a little bit. Besides their work earning, what other sources of income do Eva and Isaac track?
It said food stamps and other.
Yeah, well, so we got government assistance for Isaac. Okay. We got mom's Social Security and then food stamps. Now, this other is Isaac's work. So we got Eva's employment at the top, Isaac's work at the bottom. So non-employment, although you could say Social Security is from employment, but it's not directly related to Eva's mother working and contributing.
Okay.
So anyway, there's not a big deal, but you see that's they're counting everything is the idea. You want to track anything you get that's income, even finding money in the couch cushions. Okay. So what's their total income?
1,440.
I'm seeing, where'd you see that? I'm seeing 1535. Is mine different? Or did I miss something? Total income 1535. Is that what yours says? On page 60?
That's if Katie's on page 57 where they had the other example. It says
Oh,
1440.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But on 60, you're right, it's 1540.
1535.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
15.
So there we go.
But they did have another example back here that has 1440. So I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. You blew me away. So
Yeah. But if
total
you go to 60, we all get the same number.
there we go.
Okay.
Let's go to page 60. Here we go. And total expenses.
$1,835.
And so the balance to save.
Well, it's
Uh-oh.
minus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're in the red. All right. They're in the red monthly. They're spending $300 more a month than they're earning or making total of their total income. All right. What can we do? What maybe can we do? Let's look at that chart on page 60. What can Eva and Isaac do maybe to change that negative balance there? What do you see there?
Well, I don't know if it's really possible, but I kind of think Isaac needs to get some more dough. I mean,
Okay.
Eva's making 800, and if he made 800, boy, that'd take care of some of the problem.
Right. And Isaac's been trying to, according to our story, just not working out. But yeah, that's one thing would help if he got full-time employment or better employment at least. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how Eva feels about it.
Well,
Because he only gets $550 a month. Isaac does,
right.
You what?
between his odd jobs and then his government assistance. He's only getting $550. So I mean, yeah, I mean that extra 300 is great.
Yeah, and I think even doing all that work thinks he could do more, just
Yeah.
letting you know how I'd feel.
So it's affecting their relationship, you think? Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
So
Probably.
there's one way. What else do you see? How else can we change that negative balance?
So you will cut down on the snacks and cigarettes.
There you go. There's one
Meal
place.
cut off on the, let's see.
What about cable TV, internet?
Yeah.
Do you need that?
No. I don't
Okay.
know. Cable.
I I don't have
They-
it, but my niece is staying with me and she thinks I need it.
Okay,
You got streaming services, you're good.
right. So that
Cheaper.
since they wrote this, technology has changed. Yes. So there are streaming services. I know that Dakota and Bryant, now they sponge off us, but they could do without. They watch YouTube, okay, and occasionally something else. Disney Channel. They pay $20 a month for Disney Channel. Now
Right. But go ahead.
no, go ahead, Mary.
But when Bryant was working at home, it became a need or a necessity, the
Yeah.
internet. So
Internet.
things,
I would separate TV and internet. Okay.
oh, okay.
So they put them
Okay.
together here, but maybe when they wrote this, there really wasn't that much, but you can do both. I think internet, especially with Michael in school, is probably a necessity, but could they find a cheaper way? All right. If they're paying for Netflix and I don't know, whatever, you could cut out some of that. I know we just did that. I don't know, recently we had Dish Network and man, they kept going up and up and up. And I finally called and said, we changed to Hulu and we get all the same things we did have. It's about half the price. Now I added Disney and a couple other things. But we're still saving about $100 a month
Yeah.
on that, and got all the TV we want. Certainly more than we need. And then we also pay for an internet provider, um, which is a necessity for us because, like Mary said, my son-in-law lives out here. He works from home. He's got to have internet. I need it just for our ministry. I need it today to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think internet for most of us would be a necessity anymore. TV maybe not so much. So I was going to tell you, I called Dish Network. I said our contract was up. I said we're going to drop it, and the guy goes, really? And he was just heartbroken. And he said, is there anything I can do to talk you out of it? And I said, no, I didn't tell him we were switching. I just said we didn't want Dish anymore. And he says, what are you going to do for TV? Like, how are you going to live without cable TV or satellite TV? He was incredulous. What are you going to do for TV? He said. I said, we're old people. We don't even watch TV, and that's not
Right.
strictly true, but it's more true than it was once upon a time. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was impressive that he was just like, he just couldn't believe it.
But if I could get cable and internet for $65 a month, I probably would,
Yeah.
because that would be so cheap.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's not 60. I know this is different because it was different then, but
Yeah.
My cable and internet was not 65. It was closer to $300,
Right.
which
And
is a lot.
by the way,
Yeah.
they are editing this, updating this because every time I teach it, it gets a little more out of date with these prices, but it's still relative. It gives us a relative idea anyway. But so
Yeah.
But I'm with Katie on the snacks, you know,
Yeah.
the snacks, drinks, cigarettes. Okay, that's probably gone up too, but that is an easy, no, not easy. That is an obvious
Yeah.
$100 that could go. I
Yeah.
put a question mark next to clothing though, and I don't know, you know, sometimes you need new stuff. I don't know, Katie, are you wearing a uniform there? I thought I saw HEB on your shirt.
Yeah, I didn't have an at my boyfriend's house, and I didn't have an extra shirt here, so I just put on my shirt.
No, but I meant like, so you don't need clothes to go to work because you have the HEB clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if you need new, I don't know if it's a necessity. Sure, I like new stuff,
right.
but and $200 isn't much, but if you can wear your HEB shirt to work, you know, maybe you don't need new clothes.
So
Let me put it this way. I spend maybe $50 on new clothes for myself.
Yeah.
Every 2 years.
So
Okay, because see, in the unnecessary column, if you, unless you don't have any clothes or something, that can probably be pushed off.
right. So that could, you're right. That could be a place where they could cut some expense.
The meal out and entertainment, you know,
Mhm.
going out to movies, stuff like that. You don't need it.
Yeah.
No, but you need some kind of entertainment. I mean, maybe you need to
But you
try
rent-
harder and
if
find
you rent
free.
a movie or something, it's
Yeah.
cheaper to rent a movie than it is to go
Right.
to movie theaters.
Right.
Or go to
Eating-
the park.
Yeah.
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 There's tons of free entertainment in places where you can do that. Absolutely. So that's a place where, and eating out, you guys know, is just incredibly expensive.
Yes, it
so,
is.
That's a place we could cut maybe.
And it's not a value. I just, you know,
Right.
I-
Right.
it's empty spending, in my opinion, most of the time.
So
Whereas at least with the clothes, you get to take something home, you have something.
right.
But with the meal, you know, it's like,
So yeah, so there are ways we see here of changing that negative balance into a positive balance, which then helps toward those savings goals that they've set. Okay. So using that as an example, let's set ourselves a spending plan. Keep your savings goals in mind. Look at your income and tracking sheets and expense tracking sheets. Make sure your monthly estimates are correct. And this is on page 61 is your worksheet. And use a pencil, not a pen, okay, so that you can easily make changes because you're going to see that that's going to come up. So take about 10 minutes just for the sake of time. You may need more than that, but you're going to be working on this from now on because these things change. Your income will change. Your expenses will change. Things will be added. Something it didn't show over here was insurance. Even Isaac didn't have any insurance expense. Well, we're going to talk about that eventually, but if you have a car, you need to have insurance.
Mhm.
So that's just an example of how things are going to change for you and for them. So work on that for a few minutes. I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back with you. Anybody have any questions? Katie, are you doing okay? Got it?
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
Okay. By the way, I'm not going to ask you to share these. This is just for you. One of the challenges of the spending plan is there is, and that's why we're using pencils, there is variability in this. In other words, your income and expenses change from time to time and even sporadically do. Like you said, Katie, you're working more hours and being paid more right now than is typical. However, that may change in a month or 6 months or whatever. And so you've got to be flexible here. Let me, for most of my career, I didn't have a set income. I could not predict precisely at all what my income would be month to month. But it took a while for me to kind of get an idea of what the average was over a year's time or something like that. So that became my standard for my spending plan. And then I did have uh, uh, expenses also, that also varied from month to month. But again, I got an average idea over time and I used that. I had savings goals that I tried to meet, but each month I would have to do maybe minor or major changes to how I've set that out. So it became a not only a short term but a long term kind of thinking, and you'll find that that'll be the case too. Now it's a little different for me as being retired. I do have a pretty much a set income each month. It's easier for me to do a spending plan because I know uh, almost very precisely what I'm going to receive each month. And therefore, I can say, all right, these are the things, these are my expenses, these are the optional things, these are things I can eliminate if I need to, and or things that I can't afford if I need them or want them. So it's not set in stone, is what I'm saying. And so you need to be uh, observant of it. Make those minor changes when you need to, but always at the same time have a long-term goal, a long-term plan in mind to save this money, even retirement, investments, things like that. Right now, we're starting small with emergency fund and things like that. Maybe buy a house, buy a car. Welcome back, dear. And so, you know, you understand what I'm trying to say. It's not a okay, here it is, and this is the way it's going to be. Uh, be prepared to make changes and do that. Some months you'll be able to save more. I had those times when I had a really good income month, say, and I would add extra to my retirement or my savings plan. Always trying to meet a minimum, but then opportunities for something else, or maybe a treat, uh, a want that I didn't need, but I could afford. I had the extra income, and so I treated myself. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. You just don't want to live in treating myself at the expense of this is what I need to do first. A lot of people do that and it's tragic. So any questions? Continue to work on that. Again, like I say, if even if you didn't finish, we're going to move on, but uh, work on that after class or this week. And again, it's always it's a moving target, so to speak. Okay. Think about too how, again, how your spending plan can work to build trust and healing in your relationships.
But one
Go
more
ahead,
thing
Mary.
before we move on.
Yes,
What I noticed when I was writing this down is, maybe I should review how much I'm spending for insurance and see if I can get a better deal.
sure.
Like maybe I'm not shopping. I look at it and I go, well, that's that number. It's always been that number and it's a stable number. Well, maybe, 20 years with State Farm, I need to call around,
Yeah.
Or like
That's
you were saying with the
Really should.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like with the internet and the cable, yeah, well, I always pay them $200. Well, maybe
Yeah.
I need to look at a way to sharpen my pencil on a couple of these standard ones.
those are two good examples. I've done the same thing. I always shopped for insurance. You see these commercials, so we'll save you $900 or $500 or whatever. Okay, then let's do it. I'll just
Well,
call
yeah,
them
if
and
the guy
change.
says, yeah, you can
I-
save 15% on your insurance, well, then
Yeah.
I can reduce that by 15%.
Yeah. So I did that for years. I didn't have. Now, this is interesting too because if I had a friend who was my insurance guy and he was a buddy, or I went to church with him or something like that, uh, that you got to factor that in. That's relationships again. Remember? Okay. So if I want to change insurance companies, but my friend is my broker, and even though I can save $500, is it worth making him mad or hurting that friendship? You see how they're tied together. Now you'll have to decide that, and I'm not telling you how to do that, but I'm saying this is an example of how that ties together. So I in fact tried to be careful not to buy insurance from a friend because I wanted to shop around, and all kinds of insurance, health insurance, car insurance, home insurance, whatever it is. Uh, find people are competing. I found this in buying furniture. Okay, that's a semi big expense. Um, we would shop around for that. We ended up when we moved out here and had to buy appliances for our building our house. We went to Lowe's, and I'll just give you a plug for Lowe's. We connected with a guy there in the appliance department. Whenever we would go and order something, he would sit down at the computer because they'll match the low price minus something. Okay, that's Lowe's deal. And he would sit down there and put the refrigerator or whatever in there and find it and give us the best deal minus 10% every time. So can't beat that. But we wouldn't have known if we hadn't seen the ad and said, "Hey, you say you'll match the low price." Well, we could. He said, "Sure." So even he would even do it, and so we could stick with one place for the convenience, and at the same time get the lowest price. Uh, Insurance, furniture. When we bought living room furniture, they said, "This is how much it is," and I said, "Will you take this much? If I'm paying cash, I'm going to write you a check. Will you take this much?" Okay, yeah, we'll do that. I've done that numerous times, and it can save two, three, four, $500. What was the other thing? Well, that was it, and cable and stuff like that. So shop, yes, shop, ask, and uh, do what you need to do to make your goal there financially. Okay.
Right. Like Katie, do you get a discount at HEB because you work there?
Yes,
So
10%
you wouldn't go to,
on
yeah,
anything
so you
owned
would,
by HEB.
Yeah.
right, so you wouldn't go to
I don't
another
go
store.
anywhere
Yeah,
else.
right. But
I
it would be a
don't.
waste if you think, but I'm right real close to Brookshire Brothers, so I'll just go in here.
Yeah.
Instead, you stick with your plan and your deal and you make the most of it.
Penny does
Oh,
that
yes,
with
definitely.
groceries. We go between HEB, Walmart, and Amazon, and she'll sit down and shop an item and find the cheapest deal. Now we also include convenience.
Cheapest one.
Okay, if like curbside pickup is like
I'm gonna go to the restroom. real
our
quick.
new okay, hon. Curbside pickup is like our new best friend.
Sorry.
We love curbside. Okay, don't even have to get out of the car. Hey, how you doing? Put it in there. Bye. So uh, that counts too. But she still finds the best price and goes to either Walmart in Ennis or HEB in Ennis or HEB in Waxahachie or Amazon um, for not necessarily for food, but like for deodorant or soap and toiletries, stuff like that. So uh, anyway, let's wait just a minute for Katie. I
problem.
want to. We got one more
I'll
little.
just be honest with you, I'm upside down in my budget.
Are you really?
Yeah, but I have some seasonal stuff that changes and
See?
I have some savings. Yeah, so I'm not going down the hole, but when I write it down and then I started thinking, now if I paid a little less there,
Yeah.
so it's good to write it down.
Yep. Yeah. Um, even just like we're talking about with shopping, wonder if I could get this cheaper. wonder if I could change my routine a little bit and get this a little cheaper. By the way, I keep thinking about insurance. I don't know if you use Farm Bureau, Texas Farm Bureau for your car insurance. Oh my goodness. They're like half the
Really?
price of anybody else, Texas Farm Bureau, but you have to live on a
Let me
farm.
make a note of that.
Okay. You, you, you have to join the Farm Bureau, $25 a year or something. And it's cheap. Um, I can't think of this lady's name, but she's in Ennis, Texas Farm Bureau. Um,
Okay.
yeah, we pay for our two vehicles a little over $100 a month for both of them, and that's with collision and everything. That's the full roadside. We got the full
Yep.
deal because it was still cheaper than anybody else, Geico, State Farm, whatever, by far. Um,
Good to know.
so yeah, so Katie, I was telling Mary about Texas
Oh,
Farm Bureau insurance. You have to live in the country to get it, so it doesn't apply to you. But Penny was shopping this a couple 3 years ago and
yeah.
found this, so they're they're incredibly inexpensive.
That might work for my daddy.
Huh? What'd you say?
So that might work for my daddy though. He lives in the country. My
Okay.
daddy,
If you have to live
he
in a
lives in the
rural
country.
area, yeah, and
Oh yeah, he does.
you join the Texas Farm Bureau. It's kind of a co-op thing. It's really cheap. I'm thinking it's $25 a year, maybe 50, but for what we save on our car insurance, um, it's amazing. So let him know about that. I'd I'd heard of
Yeah, because
Texas Farm Bureau. I
we
didn't deal
had
with them, but
State Farm.
yeah.
We
See,
had State Farm until last year, and then all of a sudden they didn't say nothing to us, but they ended up stopping our policy. And my dad went to go make a claim, and they're like, "Oh, well, you haven't had insurance with us for 3 months," and they never said anything to him.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
he had been with them for years.
Yeah.
And when he went in to try and restart the policy and everything, they were trying to charge him $350 a month for the two cars.
Yeah.
He's like, no, because that's ridiculous.
Right.
So he went to USAA because he's retired military and he's
Right.
paying $80.
Yeah. So that's another. See that USAA is kind of a closed group, which helps them with expenses and claims and stuff, as
Well, and
opposed
then my
to
uncle, he's on State Farm, and they went to go make a claim as well, and they were paying full coverage and everything on their cars, but yet the agent said that they didn't have full coverage, even though that's what they were paying for.
yeah. So there's some questions of integrity in
Their
companies. I've heard.
car's slipping.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't think I've ever had State Farm, maybe so, but I've had Geico and
Yeah,
oh, good grief,
I've had them before.
several of them. But insurance is another thing you really need to shop. Okay, like I have.
But back to your Lowe's example.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say back to the Lowe's example, you get a military discount at Lowe's.
Okay.
So that's a reason to shop there over another store. Yeah.
Look for your deals. Don't be lazy. Take a few minutes and shop. Absolutely. I can't stress that enough. And for me, it's tempting just to say, yeah, whatever. Just pay the bill, but there's deals and then there's deals. Okay. So
Yeah.
make it a point to do that. That can really change that deficit in your income and expense. Can make a good dent in it.
It all helps.
You bet. So I want you to commit to this, to your spending plan, to paying attention to it, modifying it where you need to. Really work on this because it's it's a big deal to your life and to your relationship. So put what you need to into that. Get somebody to help you, make you accountable. Keep on tracking your income and expenses. You'll need to do that to make these modifications. Don't stop your tracking. You want to do that. All your income, all your expenses. Keep good detailed records. Every penny matters. All right. Any questions or comments on spending plan?
No.
If not, let's move on to Unit 6. Living simply. We've talked about this somewhat. We were talking about how we can cut expenses, but let's get into a little more detail about living simply and needs and wants, things like that. I'm on page 68 in your workbook now. You may,
I think it's funny. I think it's funny they call it living simply when it's actually more complicated to pay attention and save money.
yeah, but the idea is to get it to be simple.
Right, but simply is just pay for whatever, write the check
Yeah.
like you were saying.
Yeah.
And I think it's living smartly, wisely.
Right. Not living lazy, living simply.
Oh, that's good.
So as we can see probably from tracking our expenses, that living simply can be difficult. All right. It may be hard to do, but that's where we want to go. But doing that, living simply, is an important step toward financial health for two reasons, really. First, it reduces what we consume, especially cutting back on our wants. That creates additional money to meet our savings goals. Secondly, connected to our key themes, living simply is one way that we can use what God has given us to further his work in the world. So let's begin this by looking at the scriptures. Paul encouraged a community of God's people in 1 Thessalonians 4. During this period of history, the people in Thessalonica faced a lot of suffering and struggle, including financially, but they're praised by Paul for their hard work, faith, and endurance. Mary, read that little passage from 1 Thessalonians 4.
We urge you, brothers and sisters, to love each other more and more, and to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business and work with your hands, just as we have told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders and so that you will not lack anything.
Now think about that. You're accomplishing two things there. Leading a quiet life. Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. Win the respect of outsiders, and you won't lack anything. So relationships and finances. Okay. What else do you hear from that passage that about how God wants his people to live?
Mind your own business and work with
That's
your
what I
hands.
I chuckled a little bit when you read it, Miriam. Boy, how I wish I could say that to my wife. I know better than to do it, but she's the kind of person, and she's a sweetheart, but we'll drive along the road and she'll go, look at that house. Look at why did they paint it that color? Why did they do that? And I'm like, why are you even looking? Mind your own business.
Yeah.
Okay, but what,
She sees, I don't. And so it can be irritating. like I say, it doesn't matter. She's not going to drive up there and say, you need to change the color of your house. But sh- if she would just mind her own business, she could do with a lot less irritation in the world, I guess. But anyway, uh, that's not
Okay, but
exactly
I
what that
thought,
means. But
well, exactly. I thought they were saying, remember how we talked about having stuff because somebody else has nice stuff. I need to have nice
yeah,
stuff, and
yeah,
you know, kind of stay in your lane with your own business
yeah,
on what your needs are, what your wants are, and just because you got something, um, and I was thinking exactly when you're saying about Penny looking at the house. I can look over, I got a great house. I live indoors. It's very nice. But I can look over and go, look at that big, beautiful house.
oh yeah,
I don't need that. That's a lot more
yeah,
clean. And I
yeah,
don't have that many people. And so I think it's saying to me, you don't need to look over there and think you need that. You look
yeah,
at your stuff and think you need that.
yeah,
Mind your own business.
exactly. There's again, there's so much peace and freedom in that, and it keeps you from being envious, jealous, uh, judgmental. Just right. You do you,
It,
I think is the
and doing stupid stuff that you
right.
should be doing
Right.
that you don't even
Temptation.
want to do.
Yeah. Temptation to get out of your lane. Exactly. Um, so good advice. And it doesn't mean ignore everybody and not be loving and helpful and friendly and stuff like that. That's not the point of that, or critical. It is, you've got enough in your own house to be concerned with. Don't think you need to fix everybody else. Help, but not fix. Okay. Um, what are the forces in your life that make it difficult to live simply?
Kids,
Advertising. What, Katie?
kids.
Kids. Okay. Relationships, beginning with kids, spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, mamas and daddies, brothers and sisters, neighbors,
Yeah.
church friends. They're the worst. So, uh,
I, I was saying
a-
advertising.
advertising. Yeah.
Here's what you need to be happy. Here's
Yep.
what you need to be happy. Here's what you need to be happy. Here's what you need to make your life easier.
Right.
Here's what you need because all these people have it. Here's what you need. You need this. This is better than what you have.
Yep. And
I don't,
I think I said this last time. I noticed several months ago, I started hearing on commercials, you deserve this. You deserve this. Just like you mentioned a few minutes ago, I worked hard. I I deserve this treat, whatever it might be. And that can be from an ice cream cone to a new house to a to an expensive vacation. What I deserve it. I worked hard, Boy, I lived that credo for years. Uh, and by the way, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So don't do it, Katie. You're the young one here. I'll just give you the warning. Mary's probably learned this lesson too. I think she has too, but no, don't do it. Don't give in. It's just strife. So so yeah, we're bombarded with
Yeah.
messages from the world that say different than what God says, basically, in a nutshell. And so
Or
it's
family
hard to
too.
resist. Family, absolutely. uh, and that's both ways. Uh, why
Yeah,
don't you?
I know my friend was like, "Oh, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you
Yeah,
need to do this." No, I need to do what's best for
a-
me.
and
yes.
then you do it, and you get, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that. Right? Okay.
Yep.
Which by the way is a description of the devil, our enemy. He is the tempter and he is the accuser. Read the Bible. He says, "Hey, come on, do this thing." And so you drive off the road and you crash, and then he's first one standing there saying, "What an idiot!
Why'd you do that?
What an idiot!" The accuser. Okay, so beware. That's going on. That's what the world does to us. Okay, let's move on and talk a little more about Eva and Isaac. And I'll read this to you again. Uh, listen to, remember how what they're doing well. How are they managing their resources well? And then how could they do it better? How could they manage it more wisely? All right. So this is their challenge to live simply, page 68. Spring is coming and the family feels hopeful as the weather warms. As the store picks up, Eva is working extra hours stocking shelves. Isaac is doing landscaping with friends again. Even better, they received almost $1,000 back as a tax refund. But suddenly, it seemed everyone in the family needed money. Isaac's cell phone is nearly dead. Eva's feet are killing her. She needs new shoes for work. Her mother wants some new jewelry for Easter service, and Michael is begging for more computer games and a new bicycle. Even several neighbor friends are asking for money to get their heating unit or car fixed. Eva thought back to last year. Where did their tax return money go? You would think that a large sum of money would be helpful, but it seems like every time Eva and Isaac get one, it disappears, leaving them nothing to show for it. So many of the people in their lives have needs they feel obligated to meet. But if they don't help, will others lend a hand one day when Eva and Isaac need it? What normally happens when you receive a large sum of money, like $1,000? You spend it, pay off a debt, help someone out, save it?
All four.
If any or all, yeah, is what I was thinking. Uh, Bottom line is, uh, I don't have a plan for it. It can,
Nope.
and it can disappear pretty quickly. I was just thinking about the stimulus checks we got, the stimulus money we got. Where did that go? Where did that go? And I'm not asking anybody to confess anything, but I'm sure not going to tell you what I did. Some wise, some not so wise.
Yep.
So let's listen to how Eve and Isaac practice simple living and at the same time take care of their loved ones. So with a new spending plan this year, Eve and Isaac are determined to use the tax money wisely. First, they go deposit $300 at the credit union. They've almost reached their long-term savings goal of having a $500 emergency fund. Now they don't always have to worry about what crisis will wreck their family's plans. Next, they go and pay off the washer and dryer to the elder at the church, along with an old debt to a friend. Paying these back honors and builds their relationships. Suddenly, Eva's mother is very energetic about their spending plan. Since the washer and dryer are at home, she can play a role in helping the family to save. To reduce expenses, the whole family must work together. Isaac and Eva explain and ask for input on the spending plan for everyone, even their son Michael. As they continue to share ideas and pray together, the family realizes that something is different now. They are beginning to live like their finances play a part in God's restorative work in the world. Let me pause right there. This whole thing, of course, is a process. This learning how to be good stewards is a process. We don't get it overnight. But one of the coolest things is that as we make the effort to implement it, to do the things that we're doing, to do, keeping up with our income and expenses, but spending plan, thinking about these things, contemplating them, we begin to see and understand the two key themes that sounded maybe a little weird when we first read them. But as you begin to implement this, they begin to make more sense to you, and that's really cool. I hope you're beginning to see that, and will continue to, because it's really a blessing. It's very uplifting. Okay, but make no mistake, back to Eva and Isaac. Make no mistake, as a family, there are still many disputes, but now they work through decisions together. With the extra tax return money, they agree that each person can buy one thing, but it must be under $50 and should be a need. For example, a new pair of shoes or a good warm jacket. On Saturday, the family catches the bus to our friend's resale shop, a thrift store in a wealthy area of town. Michael chooses a nice used bike that will help him get exercise and get to school. Eva's mother buys a watch on sale. Eva finds comfortable walking shoes that she can also wear to work. Instead of a new phone, Isaac picks out a pair of construction boots. He also decides to get rid of the internet on his phone, since they now have a computer. As a family, they also decide to give $30 to Evangeline, their elderly neighbor whose heating unit went out. After all these expenses, they are still left with $88. Satisfied, Eva deposits the $88 into the family's emergency fund. So, how are Eva and Isaac practicing living simply? Give me a couple of examples there.
What? Excuse me. They went to a thrift store.
Yep.
Instead of going to like JCPenney's or something.
Yep. What else?
They all picked something reasonably priced, and just because it's used doesn't mean it's not useful.
Right. So they set a budget.
And he decided to get rid of the internet on his phone, since
Yep.
they don't pay for it on the computer,
Cut expenses.
and went for something that he can use at work, like the construction boots, instead of getting a new phone.
Yep. So he got a new thing. Everybody got something. Everybody got I won't say a reward, but they got something to boost their morale. All right. Enjoyed a new thing, at least new to them. It also met a need, and several things there that the effect of which had the effect of raising everybody's spirits, and they had a little left over to add some to that emergency fund, get them closer to that goal. All right, so let's discuss how we can put simple living into practice in our own lives. We ought to honor our elders here. Most people would agree that the older generations knew better about how to live simply than many people do today. Many of them were patient, hardworking, made great sacrifices. How can we learn from them? What did they do to reduce living costs, to look out for their families? Anybody give me an idea from your older generations?
I don't know if this fits exactly what
ahead.
you're asking, but they deposited the $300 in the savings account first. I mean, yes, they had the $88 left over in the saving of the money, before the spending of the money?
You're cutting out a little bit, Mary, but
Oh.
that they saved first. Their priority was, we're going to do this first. Yeah. And I think it does relate because my grandparents were rural farmer type people on both sides. And there was always, they always understood that next year's crop could be non-existent. And so that was the first expense, was to prepare for next year. Remember, we read the story of Joseph and the famine. All right. So the Pharaoh had the dreams and Joseph said, well, here's what's going to happen. Now he had the divine insight, foresight. But we can say too, we need to be prepared for the lean years. So I learned that from them, that savings was the first thing you do. That's the first thing you pay for. And so they were always prepared for the lean times. Any other ideas? Not everything we learned from our older generation was good necessarily, but maybe some financial things that they did. I always tell this, my Penny's.
Apparently, my grandmother had several accounts.
What'd you say, Katie? I'm sorry.
My grandmother had several like savings accounts and IRA account, and there's like she had like 3 accounts and an IRA account, and she had money in all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my goals personally was to be able to retire early. It wasn't quite as early as I wanted to, but I did get to, because I disciplined myself to save money. You mentioned IRA, and that's what made me think of that. So I had enough to be able to retire from my business before I was completely exhausted of it, which is a blessing. But learned to do that, and God blessed me to be able to do that. I was going to tell you, my wife's parents never borrowed money. Never. They paid cash for everything. Saved it up, paid cash. They bought their house with cash. Now this is many years ago, early 50s, but of course it was much cheaper, but so incomes were much lower too.
Yeah.
But they were very frugal about saving money. They bought their cars, new cars, paid cash. When I asked Penny to marry me, and told her, okay, we're gonna need to borrow money to go to dental school, she was like, I don't know. Maybe we should wait till after dental school before we get married. She was very hesitant about borrowing money. And I told her, I said, well, okay, but if you don't marry me, I can't go to dental school because you're going to pay for most of it. We're just going to borrow the little bit that's left over. So up to you. So she decided to choose me, and we borrowed a little bit and paid it back. It was a cheap loan.
She was really considering marrying a borrower.
Yeah.
You got to be on the same, for my marriage to work, we got to be on the same page financially. And so, if you get a saver and a spender, that's like constant conflict.
Yeah.
And so she's probably looking over and going, I'm a saver. What are you doing over there, son?
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't want to marry a borrower.
Right.
It worked out, I know, but
we worked it out. Yeah. But that gave her pause when I talked about borrowing money. And to be clear, we were talking about borrowing. It was a government student loan with very low interest, 2.5% interest, and a 10-year note post graduation. And I didn't borrow, but I don't even remember. It wasn't but 10 or $12,000. It took me all that 10 years to pay. Well, I took the whole 10 years because it was the cheapest loan I had. But anyway, she had to, yeah, she had to compromise with her lifestyle in order to accept that. And so that's what she
Yeah,
learned.
Yeah, relationships though. She
Yep.
was getting into a relationship with a
Yep.
borrower. Is that who you are?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to look at that. If somebody has a different philosophy, like, well, if they'll give us money, we should always borrow. And you're a saver that your family paid cash for a house. That's going to be conflicting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had to work through that, work it out. You bet. All right. We've talked about this pretty good. Any other tips for simple living simply? You guys think of anything else you can share that we can implement?
I don't go anywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
I go to work. I come home. I
Yeah,
watch. I pay. I do the bundle for the Hulu, Disney Plus, and the ESPN
Yep.
Plus because
Yep.
it's cheaper than everything else.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. Yeah. That's plenty of
That's it.
entertainment, you know.
I don't.
Katie, are you a Marvel fan? Speaking of Disney.
I am. My
Yep.
whole family is.
So did you watch Loki?
I've seen the first episode. I haven't seen the second episode yet, but that was so
same
fun.
here. See my mask?
Oh, that's cool.
Cool, huh?
I like that.
Yeah. My
Did you
son
watch
is WandaVision, yes. Soldier and the Winter Falcon,
what
yes.
did you think of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I loved it. Can't wait for more. Are you a Marvel fan, Mary? You know what we're talking about at all?
No idea.
Okay.
Oh,
let's
No
move on.
TV. Mine
Yeah.
comes over the airwaves. But you know what? I like that y'all like it. I like
Yeah.
that there's interests that are not freaky expensive that y'all can share and that are fun.
Yeah.
So maybe someday.
Bryant got me into that. I hadn't watched any of the Marvel movies except Guardians of the Galaxy. I'd seen that, but he's like, he and Dakota both had watched them and he kept talking about it. I said, okay, so we got Disney Plus. So I went back, I watched the first one. I've watched them all, man. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. And now they've got TV shows they're producing that are spinoffs from these characters. So anyway, we need to get back to business here.
Well,
All right.
the Black Widow, Loki, and the Winter Soldier and Falcon, they're actually all tying in to the new Doctor Strange movie that's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait for Black Widow, Doctor Strange. Yeah.
It's all going to tie in together.
We also need to get Captain Marvel back too. This Captain Marvel can do anything. She's amazing, Mary. She's a superhero. Okay, so tips for thrift, page 71. We're not going to read this, but look at it. Here's
all right, here I am.
We've already mentioned several of these things. Stick to the shopping list. Don't shop hungry. Don't go to the grocery store hungry. You've all heard that, right?
Yeah.
Bring your lunch, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I don't want to read all these to you, but here's some great things right here. Great ideas to help you live simply. Some of them will be relatively easy to implement. Some of them won't. Some of them will be for you, apply to you. Some of them won't. So, but look that over. Keep this reference again on your spending plan, on your modifications to that. Okay, you need to save money. You need to do things a little better, be a little better steward, better manager. Here's several things here that can help you out with that. Okay. Now look at page 72 and look at this. And again, this is outdated, but I want you to see this little chart here. Small savings add up. I've alluded to this a few times and we've talked about it and around it, but once you look at that right quick, soft drink, 75 cents. They're more than that now, right? At least $1, I think, for a bottled drink,
Yeah.
probably $1.25 or more. Okay, but look at that. If you buy 30 a month, you're spending $22.50 a month on soft drinks at 75 cents, $270 in a year. 5 years, $1,530. 20 years, almost over $9,000 on soda pop. Okay. So you want to buy a new house? You're looking to buy a house? Well, there's $9,000 you can put into that new house right there. Just cut out those soda pops or cut down. Okay. Cigarettes, I'm sure they're more than $5 now, but look at that.
They're around 7 something.
Okay. So add
They're like 7.50.
20% to that. Look at that, 5 years, almost $7,000. Add 20% to that, $9,000 in 5 years. 5 years. Eating lunch out, $5. It's more than that, I know. Movie ticket, snacks, etc. Okay, so you get the idea. Those little things add up, can turn into a lot of money. That if you cut them out or cut down, that's going to go back into your pocket, back into your savings goals, and probably be better for you anyway. Now, again, y'all, this doesn't mean you can't ever have a treat. All right, don't kill yourself over. I don't mean that literally, but don't beat yourself up over having a soda pop now and then. But just think about if you've got something you're doing that you could cut down on or eliminate and probably be better for you physically, emotionally, etc. Anyway, and save money on top of that. There you go. So little things add up. Keep that in mind. I know that it's hard to think. I don't spend anything extra. I don't do anything extra. I am frugal. I do live simply. But you're writing it down now, and Mary has said a couple times, I'm writing it down. It's like, wait a minute, I thought I was, but look at all this that I'm doing that I don't have to do. I don't need to do, and can change my life and my family's life, maybe dramatically. So little things add up. Start where you are, and the principles always apply. No matter what your income is, the principles always apply. Any questions? Any thoughts on that? Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. On page 72, I'm going to give you this as homework again. I want you to review and alter your savings goals and your monthly spending plans. And again, I've said this several times. These are alterable things, but you still want to accomplish the goal, but the process can be quite variable. Hopefully not too much. It's where it becomes confusing or troublesome, but do that. So I want you to spend some time this week, review that, compare Eva and Isaac's new monthly spending plan on page 72 with the first one from the previous session that we looked at, and answer those questions there. What have they done with their simple living, et cetera, et cetera. So do that. I think it's task 4, it'll say there. on page 72. I want you to do that this week on your own, and you see their new chart there, old and new. And then there you can make your monthly spending plan. And then again, I want you to look on page 76, and hopefully you have written down or thought of at least one thing that you can take action on towards living simply. And I want you to jot that down in that little box on page 76. Just one thing, just pick one this time. Something you can cut out, cut down on your expenses. Some way you might be able to increase your income, do something a little different. It may be shop your car insurance. You know, it might be cut out a treat or something that you're typically doing every day. And again, this is a lot of these things have more than just financial benefit. Okay. We can talk about, we're not talking about health benefits, but cutting out soda pops, speaking from a dental perspective here, it can save your oral health. All right. Folks, I'll tell you, almost without exception over the year, the folks who had the most problems with, at least with dental decay, with cavities, almost without exception, there was some habit where they were, they had a soda pop habit, candy habit, something that was just devastating their oral health, not to mention their general health. Okay, so there are fringe benefits besides saving money to things like that. When I even diet drinks, you think, well, there's no sugar in them. They're still very acid. Acid is our enemy in our mouth, and as far as our teeth go, it's not just sugar. It's acid. So okay, I'm get off my soapbox on health benefits, but I'm just saying there's more things to it. So jot down one thing there that you'll commit to living simply. Want you to continue, as I said, tracking your income and expenses. And we are done with our agenda for week 3. I'm going to suggest that we stop early today, if that's okay with y'all. It's 11 o'clock. I have a board meeting for the Ellis County Homeless Coalition this afternoon, a workshop from 1 to 5. So I would like a couple hours break just personally to get a little rest and get a couple other things done. This was set up kind of suddenly. Just FYI, I joined their board. I've been working with them for 2 or 3 years, and I joined their board recently as an advisory member. And they're doing there's a lot of great things happening kind of all of a sudden. And so we're going to try to get organized and stay on top of things. There's actually now a place where homeless men can go in Ellis County. That was not the case for as long as I can remember. And it's just a tent camp, but it's something. It's somewhere to get out of the rain and get some shade and get some help. And we're developing that, or I say we, there are folks working on that. We have received a grant. One of our partners has received a grant from Mark Cuban's foundation. Mark Cuban owns the Dallas Mavericks. He gives away, does quite a lot of benevolent work. And so a fellow who has several acres outside of Red Oak has said, I'll donate that. We'll take this money. We're going to start a community, a village there. It may be little dome houses, tiny houses, something that'll be kind of a transitional house. We're going to have a garden. We had somebody donated gardening equipment, and I mean like tractor gardening. And so these folks can work, grow crops, eat them, sell them. So anyway, it's just an example of several things that are beginning to happen. We don't have a large homeless population in Ellis County relative to more urban areas, but we have a lot of people who are on the verge of homelessness almost constantly, and from one month to the next, don't know if they're going to have a place to live, an apartment. We have lots of people living in their cars, which are technically homeless. We also have a lot of teenagers. We really have a high rate of teenagers, school kids, who are living outside their home, living in neighbors' homes, things like that. That's probably our biggest number population wise, would be kids. So seems odd, doesn't it? But we think of homeless people as those guys sleeping on the sidewalk or whatever. But we do have a lot of teenagers that don't have a permanent residence, and they struggle obviously with everything then. People who are homeless are always in survival mode. And so their concern is not algebra. Can I pass algebra? Their concern is, am I going to eat today? Where am I going to sleep tonight? School is insignificant to them. It's survival. So I've learned that in the last few years, and so it really changes the way I perceive what's going on. If you can imagine, not knowing where you're going to sleep tonight, not knowing if you're going to be able to eat today, that's your whole purpose. And then add a child or a couple of kids to that, and addiction, mental illness, whatever else might be happening with you. So anyway, pray for our homeless people, and pray that this coalition will be able to offer some remedy there. Appreciate you guys. Love being with you. And we will meet
you.
again next Saturday.
Good day.
Remember, we're not going to skip a week. We're going to meet next Saturday. I'll send you a reminder again. And then we'll skip
Have
a
a
week.
good week, Katie.
2 more sessions. All right. In the recording,
Thank you.
I'm going to convert the recording. You guys be blessed. See you next Saturday.
Bless you.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.